Eric and Hannah had always wanted a child. After years of failed attempts, they decided to adopt. That's when they found Daniel. He was 6 years old, small for his age, and completely silent. His caseworker said he had been through trauma. He never spoke a single word, just stared with wide, dark eyes. But something felt off from the beginning. Daniel never cried, never laughed, never made a sound. At night, his bedroom was always perfectly silent. Too silent. Hannah stood outside his door one night, listening. No breathing, no rustling, nothing. She cracked the door open. Daniel was awake, sitting upright in his bed. His wide eyes stared straight at her. Hannah whispered, "Daniel? Are you okay?" He didn't respond. Then, she noticed something. His shadow. It stretched too far across the floor, longer than it should be. And it was moving. Hannah blinked hard. Maybe she was imagining things. She closed the door and walked away, unease settling in her stomach. The next morning, Eric found their cat dead. Its body was twisted, its eyes wide with terror. Hannah gasped, "What happened?" Eric shook his head, "No idea. But something killed it." Daniel sat at the breakfast table, silent as always. His plate was untouched. His small hands rested on the table. And beneath his chair, his shadow twitched. That night, Eric heard something downstairs. A creaking noise, like footsteps. He grabbed a flashlight and crept down the hall. As he reached the living room, he froze. Daniel was there, standing in the middle of the room. His back was turned, his head slightly tilted. Eric whispered, "Daniel? What are you doing?" No answer. Then, something moved behind him. Eric's breath caught in his throat. Daniel's shadow stretched up the wall, shifting unnaturally. It pulsed, growing larger, darker. Then, it turned toward him. Not Daniel. His shadow. It had eyes now. Hollow, empty holes. And it was grinning. Eric stumbled backward. The shadow lunged. The flashlight flickered, the room plunged into darkness. Eric screamed. The next morning, Hannah found him on the floor. His face was pale, his body ice cold. His eyes were open, frozen in terror. Daniel sat on the couch, staring at him. Hannah sobbed, "Daniel, what happened?" Daniel finally spoke. A whisper, soft and hollow. "He hurt me." Hannah's blood ran cold. Eric would never hurt him. But before she could react, Daniel's shadow moved. It slid across the floor, stretching toward her. Hannah screamed and stumbled back. Daniel tilted his head. His shadow rose up behind him, towering, shifting. It whispered in a voice that wasn't his. "Don't scream, Mommy." The darkness swallowed her whole. And Daniel sat, watching. Silent. Smiling.